Well, here we go. Here we go into nailing politicians down. This is for Brad Wall, former Premier of Saskatchewan, who tunes in and says, revenue neutral carbon tax and Justin Trudeau's flip-flop. And he goes on with his Israel support and kill all the Palestinian children like every other crazy fucking liberal, conservative, NDP, Green, PPC. I don't care. Lunatics, radicals, fascist, socialist, divine human beings. He tells everybody as a citizen, for which Brad Wall is. He is a divine first-class citizen. Folks, it's 18 plus. It's at the title of the video. I'm going to embed, I don't think I did, but I'm going to put the link in, and I tagged Pierre Poilievre, Justin Trudeau, Brad Wall, and it's a Dear Brad Wall, revenue neutral carbon tax in the Atlantic provinces. Thank you, Brad Wall. Let's get this started. Revenue neutral. Well, that means you have to have revenue to even be in the neutral category. And I'm sorry, Canadians, that you're lying, filthy, cheating, loser, sick, degenerate conservatives, liberals, NDP, Green, PPC can't break this down for you, so I will. PEI is nowhere near revenue generating. No, not even close. Half of their economy is negative. 50%. 50% of everything in PEI, from people's cars to their homes, to the fire department, the hospital, the government agencies, offices, the infrastructure, the highways, the roads, and on and on and on, doesn't come from PEIers or their great source of revenue. They're negative revenue generating, meaning you could not exist in PEI without a 50% subsidy from the rest of the working Canadians in Canada. And it's even worse than that. I should have clarified something very, very important, and I'm glad an Albertan who gets on the bandwagon of Alberta supports the whole country. It's much worse than that. There is a somewhat truth to that. Alberta leads the charge on it. Per capita GDP sent to the rest of the negative revenue generating provinces like PEI, who, again, 50% negative in revenue, meaning they don't generate even half what's needed to sustain PEI. They don't even generate half. You do, the rest of Canada. And don't worry, because if you can't afford it off of the total taxes collected in that massive transfer, don't worry. We'll borrow against every Canadian here today, the ones yet born who will become good workers, subjects, not like Brad Wall, not like Pierre Poilievre, not like Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Elizabeth May, and literally 15 other elected and appointed Canadians in Canada. And we can go on and on. There's literally hundreds of thousands of Canadians who are the first class. But we're specifically targeting the worst of the worst. Those leaders, those propagators of full-on fucking lies, like Brad Wall and his support of Israel in the face of now today, as we get closer and closer to the 3% threshold of mass genocide requiring the death sentence. Yeah, requiring the death sentence that historically since World War II has been imposed on thousands and thousands of war criminals throughout history. Israel is really close, a little under halfway, about 40%. Murdering of children, innocent children. They're 40% of the way there. But hey, don't worry, Brad Wall's good at killing Indians, subjugating and compressing Eastern Canadians, lying about it, killing, subjugating the third class, Canadians especially, Atlantic Canadians absolutely, crushing them down. Manitobans, Quebecois, and of course, don't forget the savage Indians. Again, none of these words are mine, folks. I get all these words from the highest laws of our land and all the legislation and the historical records of Parliament and the provincial legislators since the dawn of Canada through all of its entirely up into including 2023. Yeah, that's right. Still there, 2023, as I give this video. Now, that's PEI. What about, again, New Brunswick? What's their revenue situation? New Brunswick, second place. 32% of everything you see that exists in New Brunswick, from cars to homes, government centers, hospitals, fire departments, police stations, on and on, the roads, everything you see, 32% comes from other hard-working Canadians. And if they don't have the money in any given year, which they don't, we will borrow against all of those today and yet to come to join that work revenue stream. You know, like slavery, subjects. Yeah. New Brunswick, revenue neutral. They're revenue fucking negative, you dumb son of a bitch. You, Trudeau, who came up with this cockamamie scheme, that I gotta thank him for. Because if he didn't do it, we wouldn't get to see the absolute abhorrent idiocracy and seriously flawed Canadian system in front of us. It's a spotlight on the evil of, yes, the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, Bloc, PPC, Green Party, doesn't matter. They're all lying to you, withholding this from you, and continuing on in a divine socialist fascist state. The worst and longest one running in world history, still running today, unchanged, unamended, never followed the guidelines and binding international laws from World War II. Okay, who's next? Oh, Nova Scotia, 31%, just like PEI, 50%. New Brunswick, 32%. There's PEI at 31%. Yeah, everything they have, 31% of it, from cars to houses to police stations to hospitals, rec centers, go on and on, the roads, the highways, everything. 31% came from some other hard-working Canadian in another region. Oh yeah. Revenue neutral, revenue negative. You dumb motherfuckers. And what's worse is the Canadians who bite this shitty poison apple, who clap and cheer. 175,000 already on Brad Wall's post. Yeah, you're right. I'm such a dumb fuck Canadian and a stupid first person. I believe you. I'll throw my vote in support. I love the system of absolute abhorrent and unbelievable, unimaginable stupidity and absolute lies. Propaganda, absolute 180 degrees opposite of the truth. Of the truth. We're going to fight climate change by what? Serious, absolute wealth transfer to people like Brad Wall, Pierre Poilievre, Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, and the list goes on and on. Again, Canadians, you're all subjects. Some of you are second class. You get into your businesses. You're doing okay, but you know there's something wrong because you have to rely on government. Look at Suncor now today. Completely fucked. You want to talk about a board and CEOs, people of a high second class who are struggling to maintain that, who could quickly by next week be back down to third class subjects like me, you, and everyone else, lose everything they got and have to toil like all of us. In fact, I could even see one of those CEOs ending up on the tools like me, working on jobs like me, and go, hey man, sorry for your loss. Fucked with the crown, did ya? Fucked with the divine socialist fascist system, did ya? You thought you could do real viable economics, real viable primary sector outside of the government, did ya? In this institutionalized system. What I love is all these people learn the truth like I'm presenting as hard as I can to all of you. Nova Scotia, Manitoba, 16% of everything you see in Manitoba, as I outlined from every other province in this list going through Atlantic Canada, the highest, most subsidized, divine, civil, socialist, fascist system designs in Canada, top to bottom, goes to Manitobans, 16%, exactly like everybody else. Revenue negative, revenue fucking neutral. Why don't you take your revenue neutral and shove it right up your fucking ass, Brad Wall? You and Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Pierre Poilievre, and everybody else are lying, fucking degenerate, putrid human beings who deserve what happened to a lot of other folks put to death in the world today, because you perpetuate it, you keep it on, as Nazi Germany did, as South Africa apartheid did, and on and on. We have the First Peoples at the very end of this list. I could go on to Quebec. It's a little bit lower than Manitobans. They're at 14%. Everything you see of Quebec, 14% of it generated from everybody else working in Canada. Think about that. And by the way, only less than 22% of Canadians actually work. And of course, children, I get that. Grandparents are tired, I get that. But it doesn't change the truth that this is wrong. A despicable system of divine socialism, attributed absolutely to the equalization formula, specifically of 2007 and again in 2009, done by Stephen Harper, adopted by Trudeau, reinstituted by Trudeau. Says, yeah, it's great, I love it. And then we get into revenue neutral. Folks, if you haven't figured it out, more than half of the country is revenue negative, and the poor First Peoples, who are at the absolute very bottom of the list, were these same dirty, sick motherfuckers, these inhumane, first-class divine human beings. And Brad Wall is right there, no dirtier, no different than that filthy fuck Justin Trudeau and his cohort Pierre Poilievre, who largely have implemented all the federal laws we see today in Canada and their detrimental effects. Kid yourselves not, more than half this country is not allowed to generate any substantial revenue. They are revenue negative. All the First Peoples live with 4.7% in that socialist system. 2.5 million people, a hell of a lot less than all of Atlantic Canada put together, Newfoundland put aside. So it's even worse. They live on a hell of a lot less per person per capita than all of the Atlantic Canada, who get the greatest gift of all, federalism, that the First Peoples invented. First Peoples get none of it. You get assigned your health. There's another side to that too, which will make you puke. If I did that, part 2 to this, which I will. The list is long. Section 92 is long, and there is more revenue the First Peoples get. It's to the tune of over $15 billion a year, Canadians. But realize, that's the Section 92. PEI's budget of 155,000 fucking souls. third-class subjects who get the most and a $12 billion a year economy against 2.5 million First Peoples at $15 billion a year. $12 billion for 155,000 people against $16 billion for 2.5 million people. You want to talk fucking poverty, degenerate sickness? First Peoples get less than a subsidized cow in this fucking country. That's how it works. This is the blatant, honest economics and truth of what fucking Canada really is. And it's sick, disturbing. And if you're a Canadian, you can't grasp this, or you're a first person, you can't grasp it. Oh, the Indian Act, oh, the Crown, and oh, the rest of it. You're a fucking mental case. Just as mental as the sick fucking dirty degenerate Brad Wall, Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Elizabeth May, and Maxime Bernier. They're all, and their other 1,500 elected and appointed sycophants. Sick, disgusting, genocidal maniacs. That's all they are. That's all they are. Now, this video is explosive. There's lots of 18 plus content, but it's the truth. And I can sit down or stand on any stage without any swearing. With this and the numbers and the government released documents themselves, the history of all the legislation done by all these sick fucking perverts, and I can calmly, rationally go through it and point each and every one of those dirty motherfuckers out on an international stage, like in an election debate, for the whole country to see and calmly, rationally explain every sick fuck, one of them, and everything that's wrong with Canada, how everything they say is an utter lie. You're racist, fascist, absolute socialists are nobody other than absolutely embedded and invested in those politicians. No matter what they say to you, it's a fucking abhorrent lie. 180 degrees the other way lie from the truth. You know, the truth backed up on their websites, in their parliamentary legislature records, their laws, their votes in making those laws, and their concepts of defining and instituting this society called Canada that's fucking broken. Again, more than half the country is revenue negative. How the fuck are you ever going to normalize and create anything that's revenue neutral? Revenue neutral when half the country is revenue negative. That's to all of you sick fucks. And you know what? You are socially, economically, and cultural killing all the First Peoples. I know no Canadians and no First Peoples understand this, but the second highest authority in the entire fucking world under the United Nations Security Council is that Social, Economic, and Cultural Council. It's the second highest organ of the UN. Blows the General Assembly out of the water that everyone in Canada focuses, runs to. Look what the General Assembly, because you've been instituted that way. Because Canada doesn't want you to know about the other 5 organs. Never mind the number 1 organ that Canada is absolutely barred from. Oh yeah, Harper got thrown out, never to return. No conservative can ever get us to the United Nations Security Council. Never, ever again in the history of Canada, as we are. No liberal can ever, they're banned entirely forever and a day from the United Nations Security Council. No conservative and no liberal can ever get us back there. We sat on it historically since its inception, since 1945, when UN was in San Francisco, all the way till just 30 years ago. Thank you to the conservatives and liberals working in cohesion as they traded the crown federally, had us removed entirely forever and a day. Canadians, you can never get back there. You can never be a part of the Allies. So if you're not an ally, what the fuck are you? Oh yeah, you're in the Axis category. You know, all our ancestors, like my great uncle, who's a war hero in Canada, a highly decorated warrior who's long gone now today. Everything he fought for is lost. Canada is now registered with that body, the highest authority of the world, the human rights authority of the world, the civil rights authority of the world, the economic, social, and cultural authority of the world, has been you, Canada, forever and a day, as long as you present liberals or conservatives. And if it's anything, which I know it to be exactly like South Africa, all of your crown parties in Canada, registered as they are and how they've been voting, will be ruled the same. If the same implementation from the United Nations Security Council comes to Canada. And it's not a matter of if, it's when. It may be long after my days on this earth are gone. I pray that not to be the case. And like I really enjoyed my time with Letitia Racine, and she said, well, that's the way of warriors of today for truth and justice, is that often they never see their works done. They come before their time, and you can only advance so much knowledge and only infect so many people with the truth and hope that it gets there in your time and move the needle, however small and minimal that needle moves. I've had my wins in life here, and I'm blessed for that, but tremendous amount of losses. Share this video, 18 plus. Every Canadian needs to see it. More, you need to see my other links, which I'm going to embed in this video after. They go into tremendous detail, and I hold all those government releases, which are public domain, but I hold it all for the hopes that the day comes, 2025, when I am debating Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Pierre Poilievre, Maxime Bernier, Elizabeth May on that stage for all Canadians and all First Peoples, to give that truth in mass share. That's why this platform, this party must be developed, because it's the cheapest and fastest way to get the attention of all Canadians and First Peoples, to get that stage and even get that media, because you will never see it. You will never see it in the design of Canada and how your divine fascist socialist governments pay media today, who are in their pocket, who are part of that divine first class, who, like Brad Wall articulates, I'm a citizen, he says. Well, all the rest of you, and a large majority, are subjects, defined clearly by the United States and Webster's as slaves. It's why the War of Independence, why that was removed entirely from their system. It's why all decolonized countries try to remove most of that from their systems, if not all. Some have got all, but very few. Most still have many embedments, and they have a long way to go. And unfortunately, the world's going back to the old world, led by none other than the worst of the worst UN states today, Canada, who has replaced South Africa in exploitation and resource raping. You have successfully replaced South Africa. And I'll debate anyone on that, on any stage in economics, but they run, those paid economists, they run for me, they blow. I don't want to deal with him. He knows, don't do it. He's part of that fringe 15% who don't work for the government and who don't get paid by the government divine elites. That's me. Offered many times, but I never sold my soul. I couldn't sell out my children. I know I couldn't. That's why I make videos like these. That's why you need to share them. God bless. That's my rant for the day, the second one, the 18 plus. Bye now.